You think you can just betray me and walk away? I will break you and everything you care about. Do not mistake my patience for weakness.
The rich and powerful often believe they can crush the weak without any consequences. Richard Garrison was a ruthless millionaire who thought he could turn his luxury penthouse into a nightmare for an innocent woman. He threatened the building's maid, Elena, warning her that her family would disappear if she spoke a single word. But evil is never as safe as it thinks. When Elena's little boy, Noah, innocently passed a secret note to the new night shift security guard, the tables turned instantly. That guard was actually Robbie Montgomery, a billionaire hiding in plain sight. Within hours, the arrogant criminal upstairs would realize that the man he treated like garbage held the power to destroy his entire life. Before we find out what this terrifying note means, welcome to our channel. If you love deep, emotional stories that keep you on the edge of your seat, please take a brief moment to subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you never miss a video. And please, leave a comment right now telling us where you are watching this video from. We love connecting with our viewers from all over the world. Now, let's get back to Robbie's discovery. They say a man's true character is revealed when he thinks no one is watching. For Robbie Montgomery, the world stopped watching a long time ago. Or rather, they stopped seeing him. They only saw his money. Robbie was 34 years old. He was a self-made billionaire. He owned tech companies, real estate, and shipping lines. But he was also exhausted. He was tired of the fake smiles. He was tired of people wanting something from him. So he decided to do something crazy. He stepped out of his penthouse. He took off his tailor-made suit. He put on a cheap navy blue security guard uniform. He took a job at one of his own luxury apartment buildings. Nobody recognized him. To the wealthy residents, he was just an invisible man holding the door. To his fellow staff, he was just the new guy on the night shift. He loved the quietness of it. He loved being invisible. But one rainy Friday evening, everything changed. The lobby was empty. The grand clock on the wall chimed 8 p.m. That was when Elena Diaz walked in. Elena was part of the building's daytime cleaning crew. She was a young mother, maybe 25, with tired eyes and a permanent worry etched into her forehead. She was carrying her 3-year-old son, Noah. Elena looked pale. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. She walked past Robbie's desk, her head down, trying not to notice the cold stares of a wealthy couple walking out. As she passed, little Noah looked over his mother's shoulder. He caught Robbie's eye. The little boy didn't see a low-wage worker. He just saw a friendly face. Noah smiled, a big, toothy grin. Then he did something strange. He reached out his tiny hand. Robbie leaned forward over the marble desk. He smiled back. Noah dropped a small, crumpled piece of paper into Robbie's palm. "Noah, sweetie, don't bother the guard," Elena whispered. Her voice was trembling. She quickly pulled the boy away and hurried into the staff elevator. Robbie looked down at his hand. He smoothed out the wrinkled paper. He expected to see a child's drawing. Maybe a scribble of a house or a car. Instead, his breath caught in his throat. It wasn't a drawing. It was a series of numbers and symbols. May 12, 16. Help. 104. It was written in a messy, frantic handwriting. It wasn't a child's work. It was a coded cry for help. And it was written in blood. Robbie stared at the paper. His heart hammered against his ribs. The corporate billionaire who had handled hostile takeovers suddenly felt a wave of cold fear. What did the numbers mean? May 12, 16. He looked at the date. It wasn't a date. He looked at the building layout. 104 was the apartment number on the 10th floor. It belonged to Richard Garrison. Garrison was a powerful hedge fund manager. He was also a man Robbie knew in his real life. In the business world, Garrison was known as a ruthless shark. In this building, he was known as a demanding, arrogant tenant who treated the staff like dirt. Elena cleaned Garrison's apartment every Friday afternoon. Today was Friday. Robbie looked at the code again. May 12, 16. He realized it wasn't random. He used to study cryptography in college. He converted the numbers to letters of the alphabet. 5 is E, 12 is L, 16 is P. The note read, ELP Help 104. The writer had run out of time or strength to finish the word help the first time. They had written it in a desperate hurry. Robbie looked towards the elevator. Elena had just gone down to the basement staff locker room to punch out. Why did her son have this note? Why was it written in what looked like dried blood? Robbie didn't hesitate. He left his desk. He walked down the corridor toward the basement. The basement was dimly lit. The concrete walls felt cold and damp. He found Elena near the lockers. She was packing her bag. Her hands were shaking so badly she dropped her keys. Noah was sitting on a plastic chair, playing with a small toy car. Elena, Robbie said softly. He didn't want to scare her. She jumped. She looked at him with wide, terrified eyes. Oh, officer, I'm sorry. We are leaving right now. I know we aren't supposed to stay past our shift. It's not that, Robbie said. He stepped closer. He showed her the piece of paper. Your son gave me this. Elena's face went completely white. She looked like she might faint. She gasped and grabbed Noah, pulling him close to her chest. Please, she whispered, tears flooding her eyes. Please don't say anything. Don't tell Mr. Garrison. He'll kill us. He said he would kill us. Robbie's corporate calm took over. He was used to managing crises. He stepped between Elena and the exit, making sure he blocked her from anyone else's view. Elena, look at me, Robbie said, his voice deep and steady. You are safe. I need you to tell me what happened in apartment 104. Elena sobbed. She rocked her son. Noah looked confused but hugged his mother's neck. I was cleaning, Elena whispered, her voice barely audible. Mr. Garrison wasn't supposed to be home, but he came back early. He was furious. He was yelling on the phone. Then a woman came out of the back room. I've never seen her before. She looked hurt. She looked terrified. Elena swallowed hard. She looked around the empty basement, terrified that someone was listening. The woman saw me, Elena continued. Mr. Garrison went into the kitchen to grab a drink. The woman ran to me. She couldn't speak well. She was bleeding from her lip. She shoved that paper into Noah's pocket. She told me to run. Then Mr. Garrison came back. He grabbed her by the arm and dragged her into the bedroom. He threatened me. He said if I breathed a word to anyone, he would make sure my son and I disappeared. Robbie felt a cold rage building inside him. Richard Garrison was running a nightmare out of his luxury apartment. Why didn't you go to the police? Robbie asked. Who would believe me? Elena cried. He is a multimillionaire. He owns half the city officials. I am just a maid, a single mother. If I go to the police, his lawyers will destroy me before I even step into a courtroom. I needed to get my son out of here. But Noah must have taken the note out of his pocket. Robbie looked down at the paper. He looked at Elena. She was right. The world was unfair. The rich and powerful often crushed the weak. But Garrison didn't know one thing. He wasn't dealing with a helpless security guard. He was dealing with a man who had more power, more money, and more influence than Garrison could ever dream of. Elena, Robbie said, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. I want you to take Noah. Go to the hotel across the street. Book a room. Use this. He reached into his pocket. He didn't pull out a cheap wallet. He pulled out a sleek, black American Express Centurion card. The famous black card. Only billionaires had them. Elena looked at the card, then up at Robbie. Her jaw dropped. What? Who are you? Just a guy who hates bullies, Robbie said with a grim smile. Go. Stay there. Keep the doors locked. I will handle Mr. Garrison. Robbie didn't call the regular police line. He knew Elena was right about local corruption. Instead, he called a direct private line. It was the personal number of the regional director of the FBI. A man who owed Robbie a very big favor. Marcus, Robbie said when the line picked up. It's Robbie Montgomery. Robbie, where have you been? You've been off the grid for months, the director said. No time for small talk, Robbie said, his voice cutting like ice. I am at the Montgomery Towers. Apartment 104. Richard Garrison is holding a woman against her will. There is evidence of physical abuse and human trafficking. I need a tactical team here in 10 minutes. Do not route this through local PD. Keep it completely federal. 10 minutes, Robbie. We are on our way, Marcus replied. Robbie hung up, but he couldn't just sit and wait. 10 minutes was a long time. What if Garrison was hurting the woman right now? What if he was trying to move her? Robbie walked to the elevator. He pressed the button for the 10th floor. He adjusted his security guard cap. For the first time in his life, he was glad he was wearing this uniform. It was the perfect disguise. The elevator dinged. The 10th floor was quiet. The hallway was lined with plush carpets and gold-trimmed lights. Robbie walked silently to door 104. He leaned his ear against the heavy oak door. He heard muffled shouting. A man's voice. It was angry, violent. Then, he heard a woman's sharp cry of pain. Robbie didn't wait for the FBI. As the building owner, Robbie carried a master keycard. It gave him access to every single room in the skyscraper. He pulled it out of his pocket. He swiped it against the electronic lock. The light turned green. The lock clicked. Robbie pushed the door open and stepped inside. The apartment was massive. It had floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city lights. But the beauty was ruined by the scene in the living room. Richard Garrison was standing over a young woman. The woman was on the floor, weeping. Garrison had his hand wrapped tightly around her wrist. He was dragging her toward a back closet. "Hey!" Robbie shouted. His voice echoed through the high-ceilinged room. Garrison spun around. He looked shocked to see a security guard standing in his home. His shock quickly turned to pure rage. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" Garrison roared. "How did you get in here? Get out before I have you fired and thrown in jail." Robbie didn't move. He kept his hands at his sides. He looked at the woman. She was young, terrified, and had a deep bruise forming on her cheek. "Let her go, Richard," Robbie said calmly. Garrison blinked. He was confused. The security guard had just called him by his first name. No worker ever did that. "Do you know who I am?" Garrison sneered, stepping away from the woman. He walked toward Robbie, trying to intimidate him. "I pay more in taxes than you make in a lifetime, you piece of trash. I will ruin you." "I know exactly who you are," Robbie said. He took off his security cap. He tossed it onto a nearby chair. He looked Garrison dead in the eye. Garrison stopped dead in his tracks. He squinted. The arrogant look on his face began to melt away. He recognized those eyes. He recognized that face. He had seen it on the cover of Forbes magazine. He had seen it at exclusive high-society charity galas. "M. Montgomery?" Garrison stammered. His voice lost its strength. "Robbie Montgomery? What? Why are you wearing that? What is this?" "I like to see how my properties are run," Robbie said, his voice dangerously low. "And today, I found out I have a monster living on my 10th floor." "Robbie, wait. This isn't what it looks like," Garrison said, his hands coming up in a defensive gesture. His face went pale. He knew the immense power Robbie held. "This woman, she's unstable. She's a servant. She stole from me. I was just trying to restrain her until the police arrived." The young woman on the floor shook her head frantically. No, he's lying. He took my passport. He won't let me leave." Robbie looked at Garrison. "The FBI is already downstairs, Richard. I suggest you don't make it worse." Garrison's eyes darted toward the balcony. He looked like a trapped animal. Suddenly, his expression hardened. He realized his life was over if he got caught. He lunged at Robbie. Garrison was a large man, but he was soft from years of luxury. Robbie, on the other hand, spent 2 hours every morning training with military-grade fitness instructors. Robbie stepped to the side, dodging Garrison's clumsy punch. He grabbed Garrison's arm, twisted it behind his back, and slammed him face-first onto the marble kitchen island. Garrison groaned in pain, pinned down by a force he couldn't fight. "You are done, Richard," Robbie whispered in his ear. A moment later, the front door burst open. Heavy boots thudded against the floor. Loud, Authoritative voices filled the room. FBI! Nobody move! Special agents clad in tactical gear flooded the apartment. They immediately took control. They pulled Garrison away from Robbie and slammed handcuffs onto his wrists. Marcus, the FBI director, walked into the room. He looked at Garrison, then looked at Robbie, who was casually straightening his wrinkled security shirt. "Nice work, Robbie," Marcus said, shaking his friend's hand. "We've been investigating Garrison for human trafficking for 6 months. We just never had enough probable cause to get a warrant for this building. You just gave us everything we needed." The agents gently helped the young woman up. They wrapped a blanket around her shoulders. She looked at Robbie with tears of pure gratitude. "Thank you," she sobbed. "Thank you." "Don't thank me," Robbie said softly. "Thank the little boy who handed me the note." The next morning, the sun rose over the city. The news was filled with headlines about the shocking arrest of billionaire hedge fund manager Richard Garrison. The media was frantic, trying to figure out how the FBI had caught him so suddenly. Meanwhile, across the street from the Montgomery Towers, Elena was sitting in the hotel lobby. She hadn't slept all night. She was holding Noah in her lap, watching the television news report. She was terrified. She wondered if she was going to lose her job. She wondered if they were safe. Suddenly, the glass doors of the hotel opened. Elena looked up. Walking toward her was a man. He wasn't wearing a cheap security uniform anymore. He was wearing a flawless, dark gray bespoke suit. His hair was perfectly styled. He looked powerful, wealthy, and imposing. But when he reached her, he smiled. It was the same kind smile from the night before. "Robbie," Elena whispered, standing up. "Hello, Elena," Robbie said. He knelt down so he was at eye level with little Noah. He patted the boy's head. "Hello, young man." "I saw the news," Elena said, her voice shaking. Are we in trouble?" "Trouble? No, not at all," Robbie said, standing back up. He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a legal document. "What is this?" Elena asked. "Richard Garrison's apartment has been seized," Robbie explained. "But more importantly, I own the entire building. In fact, I own the company you work for. I am Robbie Montgomery." Elena gasped. She covered her mouth with her hand. She had been cleaning the offices and buildings of Montgomery Enterprises for 3 years. She knew exactly who he was. "I want to thank you," Robbie said. "Your bravery and your son's quick thinking saved a woman's life last night. You also helped put a very dangerous man behind bars." I just wanted to protect my son," Elena said, tears rolling down her cheeks. "And you did," Robbie said. He handed her the document. "This is a contract. I am creating a new position at Montgomery Enterprises. You are now the Director of Employee Welfare. You will make sure that every single worker in my buildings is safe, well-treated, and fairly compensated. Your salary will be quadrupled." Elena stared at the paper. The numbers blurred through her tears. It was more money than she had ever dreamed of. It meant a real home for Noah. It meant college. It meant safety. "I can't accept this," Elena stammered. "I don't have the experience." "You have the most important experience," Robbie said firmly. "You have a good heart. You care about people. That is something money cannot buy. And there's one more thing." Robbie smiled and pointed out the window toward a beautiful brownstone building down the street. "The company owns that apartment building over there. Apartment 3B is currently empty. It is fully furnished. It is yours, rent-free, for as long as you want to live there." Elena couldn't speak. She fell into Robbie's arms, weeping with pure joy. Robbie hugged her back. For the first time in years, he didn't feel empty. He didn't feel tired of his wealth. He realized that money wasn't a burden. It was a tool. And when used to help the right people, it was the greatest power in the world. Noah clapped his hands and laughed, playing with his toy car on the hotel lobby floor. Robbie looked down at the boy. He reached into his pocket and pulled out the crumpled piece of paper with the bloodied code. He didn't throw it away. He kept it. He wanted to frame it. It was a reminder that sometimes the most important messages in life come from the most unexpected people. Robbie Montgomery went back to his billionaire life. He wore his expensive suits again. He attended his board meetings. But he never forgot the lesson he learned in the navy blue uniform. He learned to look at the people the world ignores. Because sometimes, an invisible person is the only one who can see the truth. And sometimes, a little child can change the world with a single crumpled note.